Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Arsenal Truex Galaxy podcast. Joining me today is Mr. Tom. Hello, Tom. How are you doing today, pal?
Hello, Alonso. I may have rushed home from work to eat and then come on to the Arsenal Truex Galaxy podcast, which is always a pleasure.
Thanks, pal. Tom, so how was the drive home?
Didn't take me long because I live right next to work.
Perfect. So, Tom, you and I, Stan, Tony, Russ, and Spencer all experienced WrestleMania. Oh yeah, brother. So, Tom, we saw it together both nights, and we talked about it on Sunday. However, Raw happened on Monday, and I worked during the nighttime as well, so I didn't see a lot of Raw. But the bits and pieces I did see were pretty hilarious with The Rock and Cody Rhodes basically recapping their match on Saturday night and also the loss to Roman Reigns. And The Rock apparently still wants to be relevant again by being still chasing Cody Rhodes for the belt. So Tom, so what was your perception of the whole Raw episode, Raw, the famous Raw at the WrestleMania episode, and talk us through about what happened at the end with CM Punk interfering in the four-way with Ricochet, Bronson Reed, Jay Uso, and Drew McIntyre.
All right, that's a lot to unpack there, Mr. Alonso. You are one of my favourite interviewers on the YouTube. I will say it does. When I come on it feels like I'm being interviewed. Like I'm being like, Tom, what do you think? Blah blah blah. Tom, what do you think? Blah blah blah. I'm not having a go at you. I quite enjoy it. Anyway, to unpack all what you said, I feel like the episode of Raw. I think it will be looked at. It could be looked at as quite important in the future, like how people look at the first Raw after WrestleMania 14 when Austin won the belt. Because that was very much a like, look at this, look at our new stars. These are our guys that we're going forward, and they packed it. They even put both NXT champions on the show. What's his name? Gavin and Roxanne Perez. So I think that was not by accident. They very much loaded it with, and obviously the first hour was basically Rock and Cody going backwards and forwards and things like that, however you want to call it. I don't know what happened with him handing him a piece of paper and all that. Obviously, the story going forward is going. Like, to be fair, like I said this a few weeks ago, I said the real feud is The Rock and Cody. The chemistry, the interactions have all been pointing to, because people. Sorry, I'm all over the place here. Get excited about wrestling. A lot of people, Alonso, was hello BX, by the way, sir. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, The Rock's going to turn on Roman Reigns and blah blah." I was like, "Of course he's not going to turn on Roman Reigns, because they have to still keep him heel, The Rock, because the real feud is the real money is in him versus Cody. They have, especially now The Rock beat Cody. The Rock's going to be the number one contender because he beat the champion the night before he became the champion."
Do you think that's bad for business, as they say, or do you think that
quite the opposite?
It's good for business? Okay, because oftentimes, we see these older wrestlers come back, and they make a habit of staying there far too long. The Rock apparently still has The Rock still has charisma. He's done the hill bit very well. As a matter of fact, some would say that he's done it too well before he left, and he's gotten too personal, which I think every wrestling fan knows that draws viewers. So Tom, we all watched as The Rock, right? He's now wanting to be part of the championship saga, as he says, our story with him and Cody Rhodes. How soon do you think The Rock will challenge Cody Rhodes? Because he said, I'll be back, meaning we can also expect it'll be maybe next year or so, because he's still doing movies and stuff like that. So, how soon do you think he'll be back? How soon, or do you think there'll be someone to fill in the time until he comes back to challenge Cody Rhodes for that belt? Even if they do.
I I think it's a match. No, they're going to do the match. They have to do the match. They're throwing away money in like attendance and whatever you want, whatever metrics you want to say. Like for example, they make money even if you like people who watch WrestleMania twice have made their money because of the advert revenue they get from, say, American Home Shield or whatever it is, will be paying them based on how many people watch WrestleMania, for example, and they will make a lot of money based on the fact that people want to see Cody Rhodes versus The Rock. The company needs Cody Rhodes to beat The Rock. They brought in The Undertaker, John Cena, and it was all about Cody Rhodes. That match, the ending of WrestleMania, was all these stars all putting over one person, which is what they should do. It's what should have happened. It should have happened a long time ago. Vince McMahon, in my opinion, was so loyal to the Attitude Era that he wouldn't put anyone new over anyone from the Attitude Era. Like they all because they saved his company because they did. He always had this, oh, well, they're the real stars. These new guys aren't getting up. It's like, yeah, they're not getting over because you won't let them, Vince. It's not real. It's not real, Vincent. The people who win because you say they're winning. So, you know, you make stars. Stars are people that win more often than not, in my opinion. For example, why is Goldberg a massive star? Because his gimmick was he won, and he won, and he won, and he won. Same as Roman Reigns. He's a big star because he had the belt, and he won, and he won. Winners tend to get over with the crowd over time.
You think most wrestling fans were like kind of relieved that Cody Rhodes beat Reigns finally? Or do you think that they wanted to sort of to continue with Roman Reigns?
Oh,
In
no.
your opinion, Tom, we know how you feel about Roman Reigns, but do you think it was time?
Personally, I'd have loved to have seen Roman Reigns win. But if Cody did not win that match, he's finished. As a major star, he would have been done. Yeah, it could only go one way. There could only be one winner.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have said the same last year. But at the same time, I think we said it when we last spoke on here that if he came back because obviously he came back from the injury where he was out for like 6-7 months and won the Royal Rumble, and then it's, oh, congratulations, you got a WrestleMania match, and then he's back to doing like, oh, my story and Dusty and all that, and it was like, yeah, if you would have won, as much as people wanted Reigns to lose, they wouldn't have been happy that Cody won because they would have felt, I didn't earn it. He just came straight back into a title shot and all this. Whereas he had a year of like basically my story, but not. I mean, he basically got beat up by Brock Lesnar all summer. I think it's one of the fairest ways to put it.
Tom, so we all watched WrestleMania last year with you guys and someone else on podcast and Russ and Stan. There are many people who were upset because they expected the title to change hands that night, and you said that it wouldn't have made any sense because of the fact that Clay Rose came back that soon, and it would have made no sense to him for him to win it. That would have been like kind of fairy tale esque as far as the good guy won a belt that soon. That's not cool. That's not fair. So it kind of made sense then that that's why he lost, so he could have a redemption story. to where he won the title fair and square. And he had to work harder at it. Even in promos he shot with The Rock, I think The Rock helped him also get over because he was getting beat up, literally beaten up on Raw, not both back-to-back Mondays. So that, in the sense that, well, he overcame that. He overcame it also in Reigns and last year's WrestleMania. So the signs are all there that he doesn't win this match. However, there's always that interference, that bloodline rules match where they had, Jimmy Uso try to come out to help. He had Solo Sikoa eventually he got FD through his table, which was awesome. And you had Undertaker, which I was just in my face for the first time ever. I had the best feed because I saw everything before it happened. I think maybe a second or two after you guys did see it. So my expressions on my face were kind of like, "Oh my god, did the Undertaker just really come out?" Is it to me? My favorite wrestler of all time is Sting and Undertaker. So seeing Undertaker come out like that was pretty cool. And then that's how Cody Rhodes got pushed over or got put over. Um, One thing that I did see during watching WrestleMania was Seth Rollins getting hurt night one. Did you see that, Tom? And can you elaborate on what do you think that injury's gonna do for Seth Rollins?
I don't think he was injured specifically, like to the. Well, obviously he managed to wrestle on night 2,
Mm-hmm.
but I think he's just beat up because he's been wrestling for a long time. In general,
Mm-hmm.
he has been like on the road. I know on the road like it's different because obviously during the pandemic, no one was on the road. The pandemic was actually great for wrestlers in the context of WWE wrestlers, in the fact that they just all stayed in one place all the time and there wasn't all the travelling and things like that that is associated with being a WWE wrestler. So, but saying that, I just think the wear and tear of wrestling, because he wrestled a lot this year. Because the whole point of his character was that he wrestled more than Roman Reigns did. That was the way they wanted to get that belt over was if you go to see a WWE show, you're going to see that belt defended, and it's by Seth Rollins.
You know, I've heard an interview, the post WrestleMania interview on night 2, and Damian Priest talks about it being a workhorse championship. And my hope, Tom, for him is that he doesn't get beaten on Backlash. He doesn't get beaten at SummerSlam. He doesn't get beaten at these pay-per-view because if there's a hill that wants to succeed, it's Damian Priest.
Yeah, but the person that I think is going to take I'll tell you what I think they're going to do, because Drew is a heel, okay? But there is one place on this earth where Drew will not be a heel. Drew will be a massive babyface at Clash in the Castle in Scotland.
Right.
And that is where he will relieve Mr. Priest of the belt, in my opinion.
I think so.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Because then you can go to the real money match is then Drew defending against CM Punk at SummerSlam.
You mean Phil?
Exactly. Yeah, Phil. One Bill Phil, yeah.
I like that theory, Tom. But also, a part of me wants Damian Priest to succeed as well. And I could see, keep in mind also that there's news that Drew McIntyre hasn't even signed his contract extension yet either.
Yeah.
So that's news to consider as well. Will he be even on a WWE roster, let alone travel with them to Scotland?
I think the thing is that he just wants and I don't know him obviously. The impression I get is he felt like coming out of the pandemic, he did nothing for a couple of years.
Mm.
Like he was just basically in like these nothing storylines. Like after he lost the belt and then was feuding with Bobby Lashley a bit, he felt like he was going nowhere. And I think his contention was, I don't want to re-sign if you're not going to do anything with me. So this is doing something with him because he is a featured star on Monday night. To be fair to him, he's a big part of what goes on Monday nights. And I know, like it said, oh yeah, but the Bloodline and like the Rock storyline, it's like yeah, but it's 3 hours on that show, and they can't all be Dwayne Johnson. And the parts that are not Dwayne are usually him,
Mm-hmm.
him and Phil.
Well, one thing I like about CM Punk is that he's extremely smart on the mic. Do you think that there are some wrestlers currently that are horrible on the mic that maybe if they had a little bit of mic skills, they could be pushed over a little bit more often? Or do you think that that's just where they are?
One name springs to mind: Ricochet. If Ricochet could cut a promo convincingly, he'd already be a champion. Already. But he's so wooden, and you don't. But basically, he is a phenomenal athlete. He has a great look, and then you put the microphone in his hand, and it dies.
That's a shame.
It is. It is, and you know there are other people I think the same, like Andrade, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I've said before, when the bell goes, he's a fantastic professional wrestler. But he is a great example for why wrestling isn't only about wrestling.
All right. You know, Tom, you say that, and this is what one person that brings to mind, in my opinion, is Bobby Lashley.
He's got a lot better though.
Okay. And to me, he has all the skills that he could carry a belt, and he had before, but I believe he left, correct? Or he hadn't had that chance in a very long time.
I do think they did with Bobby Lashley that was really good. Because obviously he looks like a badass motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as he opens his mouth and he sounds a bit like Mike Tyson, it's like, oh wait a minute, he sounds like a girl or whatever. But in reality, they then just went, oh fine, when we turn him heel, we'll just put MVP as his manager. MVP does all the talking for him. It was great. I still maintain the Hurt Business is one of the best factions in wrestling because it made that man a badass star. I love the Hurt Business. Loved it. During the
MVP.
pandemic, yeah, it was him, MVP, Cedric Alexander, and Shelton Benjamin.
Mm-hmm.
It was just great stuff. It was great, and I know it was mainly the pandemic and all this, but there was just something about it because they looked like stars. They would all come out in their suits, and they would fight anybody. They'd do like I remember they were feuding with that Retribution, who were also heels. And it would be like, no, we run this place. We will fight anybody. And it's like, how can you boo this lot? How can you boo these gentlemen? They should have turned them babyface. They didn't. They just broke them up because they're stupid.
Tom, so how happy were you when R-Truth and Miz won the tag team belts?
I was thrilled. I enjoy the Miz and I love R-Truth.
Ron Killings.
Yeah, I thought it was really important because of his great work. Since he came back from injury, R-Truth, he has obviously been a star of the Full Nelson podcast. Every week, his antics make it into the show. And a lot of people make it into the show, but he specifically, we focus on that man and his behaviour. And it was just someone has to relieve the Judgment Day of those tag belts, and it should be him because he wanted in them and that in their group, and had none of it. And he still wants to be in the Judgment Day, which makes it funnier.
Yeah, it's funny because that bit when he's like holding up the belt with Rhea Ripley and then Priest.
You should see what I've got for that for tomorrow night.
Yeah, that was classic.
Amazing stuff.
That was classic Ron Killings. And it's funny because you talk about these tag teams that you think, all right, they don't mesh well together, and then they go on these amazing runs. And they don't really have to have the same uniform or the same tights to be successful. Do you see the Austin Truth being a successful tag team, Tom?
I would argue they already are because they're both over. The audience love the Miz,
Mm-hmm.
which it surprises me because they've tried to turn him face twice and it failed twice. But for some reason, this time it stuck. I don't know why. It just has. Mainly because the Miz is awesome, but I just think he and the team. I think he is over more because of how he treats R-Truth. Yeah, Bits goes right. I think it's because the audience want people to treat Ron Killings well, and because the Miz does, they all like the Miz. They're not going to turn on anyone that doesn't beat up R-Truth.
Are John Cena and Ron Killings really best friends in real life?
Nah, well, I'm sure they're friends, but because the joke is always that R-Truth says that he is that John Cena was his childhood hero, but Ron Killings is 5 years older than John Cena. That obviously can't be true.
Yeah, that's hilarious, Tom.
Yeah, but he has stuck to that for years. R-Truth will just is R-Truth said that years ago, and he's still gone with it.
He's hilarious, man. I always liked R-Truth, and I always wanted him to get put over, but I'm glad it was this time around. And I'm glad it for Miz too, because Miz, he hasn't been his rightful place ever since he was Intercontinental Champion, Tom.
Mm.
You
I think it's
know.
great for them both though, because at their ages, right? Because obviously Miz is no spring chicken either. I think at
Hmm.
their ages, I think winning a tag belt at WrestleMania is a big thing for them. Like it got them paid, it got them on the card. They're on camera holding the belts. Like that'll be a photo that they'll have for life. And that sounds really silly because it's just wrestling, but this is a big deal to a lot of people, and I'm never going to forget that R-Truth won the ladder match at WrestleMania because he's awesome and it's always going to be a big deal. It's like I've never forgot that Owen Hart beat Brett or,
Mhm.
Sean jumping off the ladder. Like there were just little nuggets of things that stick with you. Although the main thing that I'm going to remember from this WrestleMania is obviously going to be the Undertaker appearing
Oh
behind
yeah,
Dwayne
man.
Johnson because that is like I've seen 1,000 memes about it. I'm not. Don't worry, I'm not putting them on the full Nelson, but just like for example, one of them, Kirk, is on the rock. Someone's wrote, I don't like the idea of Millhouse having 2 spaghetti meals in one night.
That's
Oh no,
funny,
no, no!
Tom.
On Dwayne's face, it says Millhouse having 2 spaghetti meals in one night, and then the Undertaker behind him, and it says Millhouse's dad, because Millhouse's dad doesn't like his son having 2 spaghetti meals in one night. And
That's very funny.
he's about to fuck his son up. Yeah. Pardon my language.
So Tom, I was reading online about these comments about Undertaker showing up for Rock, and show some of the Rock. A lot of people want to sell Steve Austin, and there are rumors about that. So there was one comment that said that the Undertaker was like the judge, jury, and executioner. If you mess around in the locker room, he would set you straight.
He really was the locker room judge. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. I think that was a massively toxic environment. Like it was. I think they thought it was funny, but I don't necessarily think Melina thought it was funny when they all bet on how quickly it would take her to cry, sort of thing. Yeah, that was one of the things. They called it wrestlers' court. And it was like all the boys policing themselves, so Vincent Mann doesn't have to do it. And yeah, in realistic, like on the surface, it seems fine, right? And like people would end up in wrestlers' court all the time. But there is part of it where it became like, you know what, this isn't really like Undertaker does interviews where he's like wrestlers are too soft today. And it's like, yeah, because they're all happy now not being in an environment where they have to shake your hand or they get fucking made to change out in the hallway or something like that. I'm telling you, BX, the stories about wrestlers' court are horrific. For everyone where like Edge and Christian have to buy every wrestler a beer because they were sucking up to Michael Hayes or something like that, there is a like Melina being made to cry and the wrestlers betting on it.
Oh wow.
It's not a and he led that. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and say shit like, you know, these people are pricks and stuff, but there are elements of it where they were pricks. Hello, Stan. Kangaroo.
So Tom, so sorry to interrupt you,
On his head, I can imagine that.
but the reason why Undertaker was there was basically saying, "I'm still in charge. I'm still the judge." Oh, that's what I saw, right? And right, he was choke slammed the Rock.
To what I thought he was there, partly because if they'd used Steve Austin, it would have overshadowed Cody.
You
Because
think so?
there's levels to using Steve Austin. Because you get the glass shatter, everyone cheers. You get him coming out on the quad bike, everyone cheers. He goes to whatever he does then, the stunt, like the stunner. There's levels to this shit.
That makes sense, Tom.
No, I'm imagining Stan sat on. I'm imagining it as like I don't know what the exact word for it is, but you know, like a lifeguard's chair,
Yeah.
like a swimming pool, and he's sat on the top of it with a mop on his head. It's amusing in my mind, anyway. But no, seriously, hello, Stan.
Thanks, Dan.
But but yeah, I plus there's nothing they could have done that would have been better than what they actually did. In terms of because they all did their shit and then fucked off. Steve Austin ain't leaving that ring. Steve Austin
No.
will stun The Rock, get in his face and all this, and yeah, it'll be good. But it's like, yeah, but cool, this is actually meant to be like Cody's coronation.
He probably also stunned Cody Rhodes too.
Yeah, I was just about exactly what you said. I went, the only way this sort of thing ever tends to end is with someone being stunned by Steve Austin. Usually the babyface as well, because his character is that he doesn't trust anybody. So but they all need to trust Cody Rhodes because he's the Hogan of this generation.
It's funny to say that, Tom, because I remember one time on Raw, Stone Cold stunned the whole McMahon family.
He did. He did. And it turned Linda McMahon heel, which lasted about 3 weeks because she's terrible. And I don't like saying people are terrible, but she was the fucking worst. Oh my god.
But Tom, it was good to see Undertaker there. Because again, he's my favorite wrestler, but also he symbolizes everything that was good back then. As far as being a babyface himself. Yeah, same here, Stan. I was expecting Dean Ambrose, but Tom.
Sorry. It's just that was really clever, right? Because in the moment, you irrationally think, "Oh my god, it's Dean Ambrose about to come bursting down these stairs," and then your rational mind kicks in, and goes, "Oh fucking hell, he's fucking contracted to the other company. Of course, he ain't coming out." But they still got you in that half second where you're sitting there, "Fuck, is it Ambrose?" Like everyone looking around, like, "Where's Ambrose? Ambrose?"
Which we didn't even see like Seth Rollins up until whenever Roman Reigns
You
given the
you don't see Seth
spear.
Rollins until you see Roman get in one side, dart across the ring and spear him. Oh, that just the execute. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to hypocrite myself. That main event, I was falling asleep. until the shenanigans took place. Because you all knew, because all the rumours have been Austin, Rock, blah blah. Oh, John
John
Cena, sorry.
Cena, yeah.
John Cena, sorry, yeah, Austin John Cena in the phone background. You're like, all right, well, you know the match ain't just gonna end on nothing happening. But then I was wide awake after all that. I was like, oh my god, this is great. Don't get me wrong, still probably not in the top 20 WrestleManias.
Mm-hmm.
WrestleMania Night 1 was dog shit. Absolute dog shit. Sorry, pardon my language. It was dog shit.
You're right.
It was terrible.
It was.
It just wasn't good. That and it was punctuated by that self-indulgent main event, which some are going to argue like, oh, it served its purpose because you've now got a natural number one contender because the guy pinned the guy who became the champion. Great. Didn't need to take a fucking hour.
Yeah, Tom.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. And I think Russ was saying, "Oh my God, come on." So, Tom. So this is why I think Seth Rollins was hurt because he never really stood up.
He was.
So because he needed help by Kevin Owens, and I believe it was Randy Orton getting out the ring.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I'm sorry because I'm now imagining the Undertaker's like, when you've got to interfere in the WrestleMania main event at 9:45, but then you've got to do the McAllister house at 10. You got to dress for all occasions, mate. All occasions. That's the family from Home Alone, by the way. But
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, then I believe you see the Undertaker come out shortly before then, and The Rock has the belt, and he's like, "All right, boy, get up, boy," and you see the lights go out, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is crazy." And you hear Michael Cole say, Michael Cole was saying, "Holy Christ."
That was a great call. And I do think, just saying about calls, I actually think the female ring announcer was incredible
Oh yeah.
throughout the whole thing. In my like, she maybe hyperbole and things like this, but there are people like saying like she's like the best since Howard Finkel, and she's obviously not better than Howard Finkel. Howard Finkel's a massive legend, but she was. They do usually do the tour to England after WrestleMania, so he might have wanted to beat the company there. You could be right, Stan. But yeah, I've just thought she did a sterling job. Maybe I don't know. Maybe the crime was a bit. I want to say a bit melodramatic, but at the same time, that's what Cody did as well. So,
but you could tell. I mean, there was emotion, Tom, because doing what Cody accomplished, when others could not, and having a front row seat to that after all Cody been through, yeah, I think she was a bit emotional.
I do apologise, Lonzo. I just need to nip off for about 20 seconds or so, but I will be back and I can hear you.
Right. So, yeah. So basically, you saw Jimmy Uso trying to interfere with Jay, and then Jay Uso came out and helped and put it into that. I thought it was kind of important that Cody had backing too. I think in the past you've seen Solo and Jimmy help out Roman Reigns, and to me that doesn't really warrant him being great. Now, the days that he had the belt, yeah, that was something special. But maybe you could blame that on him not being that well. Maybe there's a contract that says, "All right, Roman, you only make X amount of appearances, and you got to defend the title X amount of times in the year." So there's a lot of there's a lot of leeway there that you could go with. Um, so maybe you just got tired and just told creative enough's enough. I need to rest now. Um, so I'm gonna ask Tom how that would affect the future of Roman Reigns. Is he gonna act now? Is he gonna hang out for a little bit and have his body recover? He's not an average wrestler. In the past, he talks about how he has leukemia and how that affected him. Um, to this day, we all know he's taking medication to try to calm it down and try to help him out, stay alive, or not get this anymore worse than it already has. Um, I respect the effort he brings every pay per view or every appearance he makes. Um, and he was a heel. But I think him, Rock, uh, maybe foreshadowed, maybe foreshadowed him. No problem. Maybe foreshadowed, like you said, Tom. Maybe about The Rock and Cody Rhodes. Do you think that I had two questions for you, Tom? Do you think that ultimately The Rock took the spotlight off of Roman Reigns, knowing what's going to
Yes,
happen?
yes.
Oh, wow, that was really fast.
Well, it was flagrantly obvious, like from the week to week, the feud was more about the Rock and Cody than Roman Reigns and Cody. The company, I think, they realised it at a certain point because then they stopped having the Rock appear on SmackDown, like so they did the face to face with Cody and Roman, but then it just felt flat because then you knew going forward you could get the Rock on one of the upcoming shows. So it felt like they were treading water until Dwayne turned up. And don't get me wrong, I loved the build. Like the build was generally entertaining, but I do think it undermined the champion heavily. The Rock is entertaining, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's good for the storyline.
Mhm.
I loved how he turned a Disney song into the most sinister thing ever. Like personally, I loved it, but I don't think it was great for the storyline.
Tom, where did Roman Reigns go from here?
Um, I imagine we won't see him for a while.
Mhm.
It could turn out we don't see him for a year. Um, Obviously, we will see him again because there's no way that man's not getting a Hall of Fame induction at some point. Like that man will go into their Hall of Fame. Of course, he will. Um, He'll probably go in multiple times. He's going to go in as the Shield. He will go in with the Bloodline. He will go in with like a Samoan dynasty or whatever. I'm maybe wrong on that one, but and he'll go in individually. He'll probably end up in it 3 times.
Mhm. But what do you think is next for him? I know that he's trying to dip into acting. You think that he's
I
going to
think
take care of his health?
I think acting would be difficult for him. Not because I think he's a bad actor or anything like that, but I, I could be 100% wrong on this. But he will be. I reckon within the hot acting industry, he'll just be seen as a pound land or dollar store Jason Momoa
Mhm.
because they look so similar.
Yeah, Stan. I think you're right. I think whenever I think half of it, Tom, and maybe Stan is like in BX even. What do you guys think about Roman Reigns' stamina in the ring? What do you think that he lacks as far as could he have been a better wrestler? Um, as
I
far
think
as
I think the
charisma,
reign. Sorry, that was rude of me. Sorry.
as far as like in the ring, do you think that he could have been better, or do you think at what areas should have we worked on better? Because the spirit, that that hand thing he does, it's really cool. But then, what else do you have? I mean, I know that he has that submission move. He used to use sometimes, but is it just that he doesn't wrestle full time? And what are us fans missing out of that reign?
I think that I think they're gonna in the future. It will become apparent that the Bloodline storyline was just a modern day incarnation, a Samoan version of the Four Horsemen. Because I suspect if you went back and watched a lot of Ric Flair matches from like 1985 or something like that, like I don't have any specific examples to mind, but I suspect a lot of those matches that would be considered good matches are Ric Flair wins because his mates interfered
Mm.
and he retains and the audience hated it. But now it's legendary. The faction's legendary and things like this. But I suspect there's not much that is that different to now.
Tom, it's funny you mentioned that, or interesting rather, because watching Ric Flair as a kid, even in the NWO did it as well a lot, where they always had someone interfere with their matches. And I was pissed off because why would you want to do that for? Or it wasn't fair because it was always a numbers game, as they say. Even DX did it. Um, Everyone does it, but I think what different about Roman Reigns, you just see it far too often. Where, for example, you bring in Brock Lesnar. If it, if it, if it, if it is any other opponent that Brock Lesnar was fighting or wrestling rather, he would have single-handedly destroyed them, right?
I was genuinely sick and tired of seeing him wrestle Roman Reigns.
Mm.
The one match of theirs that is actually, dare I say, good is the one with the tractor.
Mm. Yeah.
And even then, you knew Brock Lesnar weren't beating Roman Reigns at that stage, but also the first one, the one at WrestleMania, which everyone thought was going to be shit, and then they just turned out to be like beating the shit out of each other. But it was quite, and then Seth Rollins won anyway. But anyway, I think I got more enjoyment out of Roman as champion because I enjoyed how much it upset my mates. As horrible as that sounds, it just amused me that you was all upset every time he retained. I got why you were, because you was all like, "Oh, it's the same old shit." I'm like, "Yeah, the heel champion retained via cheating. That's
Yeah.
wrestling. It's what happens. The villains cheat. That's what you build up to the fact. Like Cody Rhodes is not going to be champion for the next 5 years. Cody
Mhm.
Rhodes he'll be lucky if he makes it to Christmas with the belt, because as we discovered, when Steve Austin chases for the world championship, it's infinitely more interesting than when he has it.
Yeah.
Wrestling's actually kind of boring when Steve Austin's the champion, because seeing Vince trying to alleviate him of it is all right, but him trying to get it off of Vince or whoever Vince's nominated champion is was always what garnered the interest.
That's what he's on. But wasn't our first ever watch along that pay-per-view, right? Whenever Roman Reigns or whenever Brock Lesnar bought the tractor.
That was no. That kind of started the show, or the idea for the show, because that match we were
Ah.
talking about it on the backstage of the Arsenal fan circle, and we just all couldn't get around the tractor because it was amazing. Brock Lesnar brought a tractor to the ring. I mean,
Was that on a Sunday?
it was Saturday night, and then we were talking about it on the Sunday. But I think,
Ah, right, okay.
apologies if I'm wrong on this, but I believe Stan had not seen it, and Tony just flat out went, Brock Lesnar brought a tractor to the ring.
Oh, right, okay, because we were watching it backstage, right?
Yeah, no, we were talking about it on the backstage, but we weren't watching it live because it happened the night before. But I believe Tony spoiled it for Stan. Which to be fair, in hindsight, there's nothing about that that's actually surprising. Not one part of that said surprises me. because
Tom, what was
Tony's spoiling something for someone. Must be fucking Tuesday.
it? And Tom, when you call him out, he's like,
He's like, did I? Or whatever. But yeah, but I remember.
So Tom, so what was our first watch? What was our first watch along? Was it WrestleMania last year?
The first show we did was NXT Vengeance Day. Then I believe our next our first pay per view was WWE one was Elimination Chamber where Roman wrestled Sammy. But the first actual classic watch along was King of the Ring '98.
Okay. So who's next? Oh, you Stan. Hey Stan. Welcome, pal.
Hey, pal. You're the one that said pal, Mr. Tom.
See, it's an interesting look, Mr. Stan.
Just in from work, mate.
Understood.
And it's a bit. It's sunny, but it's chilly. So I've got sunglasses on, but it's actually chilly on the balcony, right?
The weather's deceptive.
And I've got a construction site across the road, so I've got headphones on. So, and if it gets loud, I'll move inside when they start drilling.
So Stan, so what was your take on WrestleMania Part Day 1 and 2?
Well, before I do that, I was listening on my way home to the conversation. As you know, I was in the chat box, and curious as to why you don't put the chat up on the screen for people. You just mention the comments. But I suppose that's up to you. It's your preference. But just speaking about Roman Reigns, I always felt that, for example, the first time I saw him, when I used to see him in the Shield, you know, I would have said that if you're looking at the three members of the Shield and you said to me, you know, which one of these is going to be the breakout star? If you could choose one to go on and see have a big singles career, who would it be? He was the last one that I would have picked, to be honest. Charisma wise, you know, he was just the guy that was always doing the heavy lifting, if that means anything.
First one I'd have picked.
Really? Not for me. Not at all. I found him the most bland.
Oh, not my personal preference. I thought the best wrestler was Seth Rollins.
I can see why he got picked. I can see why.
That's more.
You know, I can imagine Vince McMahon. If Vince McMahon sat in his office and you said to Vince, "One of these three's got to be a big singles." Vince, which one are you going for? Well, pal, it's got to be the big boy. Look at him.
Well,
look at the size
he
of
was
that guy.
handpicked. He was handpicked to be in the Shield. Because
CM
Punk wanted it was originally designed to be a faction to protect the heel CM Punk, but then obviously they went in a different direction with it. But CM Punk thought it was going to be all his mates from Ring of Honor, so they thought it was going to be Chris Hero, who I believe ended up wrestling in NXT as Cassius Ohno. Anyway,
but Cassius
Ohno. But oh god, but that's what it was intended to be. But then Vince McMahon went no. As soon as it basically went oh no to Cassius Ohno, they basically then just went, oh, why don't we have this guy? And I'm like, oh, okay, it's you're the hand-picked one, so I know you're going to be the world champion before the other two.
Sounds a bit like when they picked Jindrak for Evolution and then decided not to go with him, right? They done vignettes and everything, didn't they? With him in it, and then I swapped him out for Batista. Right, we're going to shoot that again, walking down the same road. But Dave, you're in this time.
Big Dave,
man, absolutely.
I had to look like they refilm it, or did they just, you know how like they have the three of them there, and then Dave's walking clearly in the they spliced it together.
Yeah. Fuck it, we can't afford to go out to that same road again. We'll just do it in house. I always felt that Roman, I didn't see him. I can see why. Don't get me wrong. I can see why from the owner's part of the company, because we all know what he looks for if he's going to push someone. But I never felt it myself. I always felt it was going to be Ambrose.
Really?
You know, he was a more kind of animated, more charismatic. He was doing most of the talking. So I naturally felt that he was going to be, he would be like the more popular one moving forward. As a singles.
Well, I can give you the clues as to when I realised that Vince loved Roman more than life loved Roman, let's just say, was when they had Roman pin the entire other team in a Survivor Series match by himself. And when they had Roman like eliminate everyone in the Royal Rumble except for the guy who won it, Dave, obviously. So little, I say little things like that, but the big clues where it's like, oh, that's who they actually see as the star coming out of this group.
I mean,
I mean Vince.
And I wasn't surprised when the crowd didn't accept him, because I found, from my own personal opinion, when I saw he was the one being pushed, I kind of always used to think to myself, really? So it's that guy? And then when he started to get booed every time, I was thinking, well, I wonder if everybody else feels the same then. Is that why they're like, not this guy? Is he's the one?
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Well, remember whenever the Shield turned babyface against Bray Wyatt and his group?
Oh. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. And I think to me that's what killed it. I think that's what killed their vibe, and the whole heel change really hurt their style, and kind of disappointed because they're really, really massive heels at that time. So yeah, the Dean Ambrose would have made it perfect. He could have gotten that push hit, but he never gotten. I think like you guys were saying, I think Vince, he didn't really. He preferred Roman Reigns more so than he did Dean Ambrose, even Seth Rollins for a little bit there. I think he saw something also in Seth Rollins where he could have been the heel, and Seth Rollins would have been the babyface, and unfortunately Dean Ambrose couldn't be both. That's why I think he got shorter end of the stick. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
So the moment I think they realised they were failing Roman, obviously the Royal Rumble when he got booed out of the building and that, but the fact that they had to try and recreate Austin and McMahon using Roman Reigns as a surrogate for Austin and actually having him feud with Vince McMahon in 2015-16, that's sort of the moment it was like, this ain't working, but you're going well out of your way to
try and make it work.
Yeah.
To force it, shoehorn it.
Yeah. Oh, massively forced it. The thing that, who knew? The thing that did all along was just have him be a monster heel that had a death grip on the company. Who knew that would work?
I noticed something that you said earlier as well, Tom. You said about, that he's not going to be long before, he's going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame by himself, inducted in with the Shield.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's basically still an active, he is an active member of the roster. And I don't know if you've seen it. I sent you a copy of. He's already got his own biography on A&E.
Yeah.
Usually that's okay. That's usually reserved for, past wrestlers to sort of like, show some of the next generation who these people were. So I was quite surprised. I was like, really, Roman Reigns has already got his biography? Surely he's got more to do yet. Surely, his story's not finished yet, right?
I'll be very surprised if he. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure they will eventually. Like, if he does wrestle one more match, it will obviously be him and Dwayne. But obviously, the story with Dwayne and Cody supersedes it, in my opinion, because that's how strong Dwayne's heel run has been. That he has to wrestle Cody, in my opinion. Could be wrong. That's fine, but I'll just going forward. You're only going to see. Roman may get Undertaker treatment in the sense that you'll see him at WrestleMania.
And he'll probably make some appearances here and there as well, Tom and Stan, because I think there are fans out there that still appreciate what he's done and the Shield and even Bloodline. So Stan, as we were talking to Tom about how he felt about WrestleMania, both WrestleManias.
You did ask me.
What caught your eye the most as far as reaction, pushes go, or stuff like that?
Well, excuse me. I've been listening to smoking's bad for you. I've watched a few podcasts, and people are, the prominent wrestling podcasts that I listen to during the week when I travel to work and so forth, and lot of people are saying that, you know, it's the best WrestleMania ever. Probably the best WrestleMania ever. I'm not really. I can think of quite a few more that I enjoyed watching more. Yeah, I mean, the last match was fun because it's always good to see. I like it when they go a little bit whack crazy and just bring people in without explaining, you know, why John Cena happened to be out the back in his shorts and cap and t-shirt, his wrestling attire. But I can look past it, right? I'm happy to look past that. Yeah, I'm happy to look past that. But I didn't. I thought it was okay. I thought it was fun at the end. I thought the Uso match was pretty boring for the amount of hype that it got. I thought it was really.
It's the worst match on the card. Worst match on the card. And sorry to interrupt, but my main thought on it was I imagine before the match they had it all planned out around all these spots like, oh, you super kick me, I'll super kick you, and then we'll do that 100 times, and everyone will love it. And it'd be like, well, Alonso might love it because he loves super kick parties, but I think the audience generally is not going to love it. But then they're sitting again, and then you get on the floor and you start going, but Jay, I love you, and then you kick me in. And I think in their mind,
on
they
paper,
thought it was the height of drama, and it was like, but actually, 2 hours into an 8-hour WrestleMania weekend, no one was having it. In my opinion, no one had it, but it could have worked as the opener. Because people generally will cheer whatever happens in the opener.
I also think that some of the advertising is becoming too distracting now. There's too much of it. I really hope that we don't see wrestlers coming out with sponsors on their attire. Dude whites, you know what I mean, on their trunks and stuff like that, you know. Chef Boyard patches on their t-shirts. Huh?
I thought Prime was fine. I thought Prime's the most non-intrusive advert because the way they filmed it, like the camera was quite low down compared to what it usually is. So, and Prime obviously, because you thought it, not you, I mean, I feared it would be a massive, colourful, like Prime bottle, and
big
that
purple bottle.
Exactly right. But because they had it low down, it was just a black outline. It was like it took me like an hour to notice it was even there. It was
but
nothing.
I think, that wasn't so bad. Some of the stuff around the hoardings, though, the American Home Shield.
Posts, yeah.
I mean, especially the colours of it, it's just too distracting, man. That big white thing and the red letters.
I still remember this then.
Yes, exactly. That as well.
But watch the LW owns, see who those guys are.
But I mean, I get it for the revenue. But I did find it more noticeable than ever. If that makes sense, and I found it a little bit distracting. Yeah. But to answer your question, Alonso, it wasn't a terrible WrestleMania, but it was by no means in my top 5. I'd say.
Yeah, you know,
top 20.
There was a thing I read on Facebook about the top 40 matches of all time, and I thought to myself, you know, the WWE like having themselves up to be this.
The best match was Alicia Fox and
was it Melina?
Melina and Alicia Fox.
I remember his reaction to go. He goes as if like he's considering it. He's considering getting a second DUI. Anyway, sorry, what?
Yeah, but you know, they had the Rock and Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns and The Rock. I'm like, you know, it's like there's like 100 more rare matches than that in WrestleMania. So Stan, what do you think about the Austin Truth winning the tag team belts? Is it good for Miz and R-Truth win finally after all these years of Ron Killings not winning anything and finally, you know, breaking through and getting that push he deserves?
I think it's a feel good thing, isn't it? You know, it's a feel good thing, and everybody likes R-Truth, and you know, when the Miz is with him as well, they're a good. They sort of riff off of each other very well. Yeah. And I did call it. I said that the other belts would be won by heels of Grace and Austin Theory. So I can see where they're going with that. But the one match as well, the outcome that I'm not going to say surprised me because a lot of people were going for it, was the Sami Zayn and the Gunther match. I don't really see how this serves Sami, to be fair, because he's already had this belt. You know, so I
can tell you why I think they've done it.
Yeah.
I could be entirely off base. I could turn out to be the most wrong ever. But I think they're going for he's going to win the tag belt last year. He's going to win the mid-card belt this year. And I think next year he's going to win the priest belt.
Right.
Because they're building long-term that he's going to be the world champion. I don't think they should, but I think they are building that. And I think this time next year he's going to be the world champion. Like the second level.
Yeah.
Well, he ain't fucking winning the gold from Cody, but
no,
I could be wrong. Could be Saturday this time next year going, whoa, I can't believe I thought Sami Zayn would be the world champion. Like, and I'm fully prepared to be wrong, but maybe that's because the thing I find most egregious about it, beside the fact that it's entirely unbelievable that he would beat Gunther, the way they've presented Gunther, is on 2 days later, they fucking put Dragunov on Raw. Gavin's on Raw.
Yeah. I mean...
He's right there.
Yeah. Total fumble. If they were thinking of elevating Dragunov, there was just one way, and he could have elevated him and moved Gunther on, and it would have been more... I'm not saying believable, but it would have had that history to it. There's a bit of history there, isn't there? You know?
Gavin's beat him. Gavin's the only other person to beat him in the company. In NXT, he beat him.
Maybe they don't want us to remember that, do they? I think they don't want us to remember that.
That's true.
So, what do you guys make out of Sharon, the mom of Basildon, winning against Io Sky? And what do you think about Rhea Ripley defending the title against Becky Lynch?
I thought Bailey's entrance was massively ropey. Because it was one of these things where if you didn't know basically Bailey's childhood background story, it wouldn't mean anything. Like, it means a lot to her, but we don't know that. And the fact that Michael Cole has to tell us it, that, like, for example, Rey Mysterio's WrestleMania entrances generally always hit because you immediately see him and go, oh, he's dressed as Avatar, or oh, he's the Flash, or he's the Joker, or whatever. Yeah. But then Bailey fucking comes out and we're sitting going, oh, is it like Assassin's Creed or whatever? And turns out it's just some Egyptian park she hung out in as a child. And it's like, and she comes out being carried, and it's like, I bet on this documentary they bring out back behind the curtain, all this, it's going to turn out that they had some big fancy throne for her to be carried on, and it probably got broke 5 minutes after she got on it. Not in
I wouldn't have minded her butt on my shoulders, to be fair, but that's just me.
That was certainly a WrestleMania moment for like the NXT Performance Center wrestlers that had to carry her. Like, I'm pretty sure they loved WrestleMania when they had Barry's ass, Bailey's arsehole on their shoulders. Yeah, Sandy, fucking hell, Barry and Sandy from Basildon. But yeah, just. There was just something about that entrance, which I think
and when she stood down, did you notice her wings were all crooked as well?
it was like, in her mind, this looked a certain way, but then reality was like, no, this is what your idea actually looks like, Pam.
Sharon Pam from Basildon. Right.
Oh, her real name is Pam. She's a Pam.
Is it really?
Her real name's Pamela. I mean, I've never addressed that usually. It's like, I always say, like, I hate calling wrestlers by their first names. Then the first time I saw CM Punk, I was like, Phil's here.
Phil, Gavin.
Because I'm an asshole. But anyway.
So what do you got about Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch? Did you think that Becky Lynch would have put a better fight? Because we don't know she was sick. So what are your thoughts? With your rematch, or do you think that this was a one-time deal? Do you think Nia Jax will finally get her title shot?
Well, I heard that before the match that Becky Lynch had a really bad throat, like a ripped up throat, so she was not feeling too good. And just before the match, apparently Rhea Ripley had a panic attack as well. So, I mean, you wouldn't have noticed it from the match. I thought it was a good match. And I think I agree with what Mr. Tom said. I think it was on the last episode of the Full Nelson that I was on, when he says that obviously, you know, Becky isn't really someone that always needs a belt. And this elevation of Rhea Ripley, and for her to beat Becky, it does give her another little prop up in her status in the women's division.
Mm-hmm.
Hogan didn't beat Andre for the title. Hogan won a match against Andre the Giant when he was defending the title. So that's that same sort of logic. Like, he's not toppling a giant to win the belt, it's to keep it. Which is, and I'm not comparing Becky Lynch to Andre the Giant in like their physical stature, but she has been the top star of the women's division for a long time. Not including Charlotte Flair, of course. We'll say for the Raw brand or whatever. But it was a massive notch for Rhea Ripley.
Yeah.
They've teased that match for like 6 months. Like their little interactions on Raw, things like this, like coming across each other, staring each other up and down stuff. Stevie Wonder could see that match was happening at WrestleMania.
I did enjoy the cash in as well, and I saw it coming because he's had that briefcase. I think Money in the Bank is the next pay-per-view, isn't it? I mean, he can't carry it through the next pay-per-view. So you had he had Castle as well, the clash at the Castle.
Payback? Is it Payback?
Yeah, there's a Backlash.
It's 3 months away, right? It's soon, though, isn't it? 3 months or something. It's almost a year. Okay. He has to cash it in at some point. But I like the way that it was done. I loved the way that Drew went along with it.
Yeah.
You know? And it just really goes to show you that the belt really is a prop. It is a prop.
Yeah.
You know?
I would argue. Sorry, no, go on, Stan.
Because I'm just going to say, you know, I don't imagine there was ever a conversation backstage where it was like, okay, gather around, everyone. This is what's going to happen. Drew, you know, we're going to go with you. We're going to make you the champion. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, this is the best thing. And then we're going to cash it in 5 minutes later. And then he was like kicking up a fuss, and it's not taken like that. I bet it was like, oh, that's great, brilliant. Yeah, I can really sell that as well. I can really, you know, play the hard done, but I've had enough of this shit. That's kind of an attitude. Exactly, the injustice of it all, the incredulousness of it all, right? That fucker CM Punk again. You again, you're not even fit to wrestle and you're fucking it up for me. It's brilliant.
All the beats were
brilliant.
Is that where Vince has said, or he has said, Vince has said, don't waste your time, pal.
And then it made it even greater because then they had the tournament on Raw, right, for the, you know, to be the number one contender, and he got screwed over again.
Oh, the way it happened, it was perfect because they didn't even imply there was no advert, like you didn't know he was going to be there, and he goes to do his finish, and the way they film it like the camera's looking up at him, so he's going like 1, 2, like he's about to land the Claymore, and then all of a sudden he goes to run, and then the camera pans down and Phil's there like, hi. He grabs his foot and then goes, go fuck yourself. It was brilliant. It was so good. But there's just so much to it that there's so much, I think I was talking about with you before, Alonso, where I like how they're doing this thing where the best example of it is CM Punk is feuding with multiple people at the same. Like CM Punk is feuding with Drew McIntyre. But there's also beef with him and Rollins. Like, that was obviously going to be the WrestleMania match. The Rock feuding Seth Rollins and Cody. Like, there's multiple things going. It's not like if you're not on TV, nothing, like, you know, there's this like invisible wall. Like, I remember there was an episode of WCW just that far back ago where Sting got the equivalent of a bloodbath. And then he turned up on Nitro, and then he turned up on Thunder with the clothes that had the bloodbath stuff on it. So it was like, wait a minute. So when you're not on camera, you don't have a bath. The character. Like if it don't happen, if you're not seen having a shower on TV,
It
doesn't happen. Yeah. But that sort of logic, like they're implying that these are actual people. Some of them make bad decisions, but generally they're all not stupid people.
Tom, by Bloodbath, you mean Vampiro?
Exactly. That would have been it. He was feuding with Vampiro. Vampiro was dog shit, by the way.
So, as Beck's gonna mention, Jade Cargill is the ranks fast. What were your impressions of Naomi Belair and Jade Cargill's match with Damage Control? What were your thoughts?
They were window dressing, those two ladies, right? I'm not saying disrespect them, but also I think it was a bit. I thought it was a bit harsh that they had that match sponsored by Wingstop for a start.
Oh, what? What?
Wingstop. Chicken
What's
wings.
that? Oh, okay.
Chicken wings.
All right.
But basically, you had all the ethnic women competing in a match sponsored.
Surprised
by
I didn't have a
Wingstop.
watermelon company sponsoring it as well.
Exactly. But yeah, put it this way,
yeah.
right? And this could be seen as really harsh or whatever, but I feel if it had turned out that Bianca Belair and Naomi couldn't have got to Philadelphia that day, they would have still had Jade Cargill just run through the 3 members of Damage Control like they were nothing. The whole point of that match was to get Jade Cargill over, and that's what it achieved.
But I do like their press conference. Them talking about
Maybe
their
they would have
stories
just
and
called
all
up,
that.
or maybe if Bianca Belair and Naomi couldn't have turned up, maybe we'd have seen Jade Cargill paired with Alicia Fox and Jacqueline.
Exactly.
Oh no! You bring in Alicia Fox and Melina, and then you just put Cameron there, just to go. Oh my God! It's my dream match happening at once.
Cameron.
Actually, she mentions
And
Cameron.
for Naomi, I'd be the best. Sorry,
But I wonder how you feel though if you're. I mean, you know, Naomi was getting a huge push at one time in the company before she left, and then she came back, and then the next big thing was Bianca Belair. You know, Bianca Belair is going strong, and now it's like the next big. Now it's Jade Cargill. So I wonder how you feel do you just accept it? Okay, I've had my little go in this. I've had my little time in the sunshine. You know, I'll still get paid. I'll still be doing things, but you know, I'm going to be second now to this new person. You just have to accept it, I suppose.
That could be a story. Eventually, it will be. It'll be. I've been here a long time, and now I've been looked past by this new. What would you call it? The Flash
New era.
Yeah, but at the same time, you've got to look at it from the perspective of she needs to realise she walked out on the WWE for 2 years. Now, I admire it. Personally, I admire the balls to tell Vince McMahon, I don't want to work for you anymore. That cannot be understated. Like,
I think they told Johnny Ace was actually who they went into the office and both at the same time. But I know what you're saying. But I mean, yeah.
Metaphorically, it's Vince, but yeah. No, you're right. But so I think she still has to accept that they're not going to bring her in and make her the champion because there's still got to be a penance as such. Like, you have to show you can play ball.
You lost your place. Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember also the
judges back again, right? And you work your way up again.
Yeah, remember the judges coming up pretty soon here too. So I'm curious to know if they split them up or they just go to separate ways and then just go from there. Because to me, whether you're on Raw or SmackDown, there's finally a case that there's competitors now or contenders in both brands that could dethrone anybody at any given moment. So
can I just quickly say as well regarding Jade Cargill, I think the best way to get her on TV more regularly is to basically just treat her like Goldberg. She comes out. Maybe you have some local people. They don't have to be people on the main roster. They can have some local people, and she just does them within a few seconds. Because I saw a match on.
Booked her for years.
I saw a match yesterday, and as soon as she came out, I said to my missus, my missus loves watching the ladies. She's really intrigued about the women's division and that. And I said, yeah, is that new bird? Come and have a look. And then I said to my, before the match started and she was doing her entrance, I said to her, I guarantee you this ain't going to go for very long. This would be a squash match. You know what I mean? By the time my missus sat down and picked her drink up, it was over.
I love how like her finisher, right? The Jaded or whatever they call it. I don't know if that was what it was called in AEW. So I don't know what WWE name they're going to give it. But
that
when she
licky
has them
thing.
up there, yeah, they all have them like she holds them up in the air like she got them in the chicken wing, and then they all pull the same face as if to go like, "You must be wondering how I got here." It all started in 1972. So a bit like, what is it like? Record scratch. You must be wondering what happened in my life to lead me to this moment where Jade Cargill was about to slam me face first into the floor. But I'm probably gonna do that joke every week. But anyway, I'll run into ground somewhere. But I did want to just make 1 point, Alonso, on the Money in the Bank, just before it goes out. See, I always felt the prestige of the Intercontinental Championship and the United States Championship has been so diminished over the years. They've brought the Intercontinental Championship back up a lot, to be fair to them.
Mm-hmm.
But historically, it was so diminished to the point where the mid-card title was essentially if you were carrying the Money in the Bank briefcase, because it was treated with more importance. You were on TV every week if you had that briefcase. You were losing most weeks because Vince wanted to, like, what's the word, like punish you for the push you was about to receive. But at the same time, because his his mind's weird. But the mentality I felt was, you were a featured performer. You were on TV every week, and because they wanted to see you with that briefcase on television, they didn't necessarily want their Intercontinental Champion on television. If you were Intercontinental Champion in the year 2013, your job was to lose to whoever was the number one contender for the world title that week. You had to put them over. Someone had to put them over. And that someone was usually, who's my mid-card champion? And then it'd be, oh, but Vince, as Chris Jericho once said, Vince, just don't put me with Fandango. Put me for the Intercontinental. I'm a 13-time Intercontinental Champion, whatever it is. Put me in the Intercontinental Champion, man. Vince will be like, no one gives a fuck about the Intercontinental Championship. You're working Fandango.
Breezango.
Damn it.
You're on a three-way against Breezango.
Oh, I love that gimmick. Anyway,
Pow.
I'll shut my mouth. But
Pow.
So Tom.
Sorry, mate. Oh, it's your show, bro.
So, what do you guys? I know Tommy answered this question already, but Stan, where do you see the future in the company during the Cody Rhodes Rock storyline? Where do you see Damian Priest moving forward? Do you think that Phil's can continue Maryland, Drew McIntyre's business?
Well, at the moment, I mean, I watched Raw yesterday, and yet again, Triple H came out and informed everyone that they just had a record house of attendance, like something like 20,000 people. The week before, he came out and said it was a record attendance and that was 18. So business seems to be doing extremely well. Now, I don't know if that is coinciding with Dwayne Johnson putting in appearances. And he's put in some appearances recently where he's not even been named, right? The people going to the show didn't even know that he was going to show up. And so maybe that makes people, oh, Raw's coming to our place next, or SmackDown's coming to our town next week. Should we go? You never know. Rock might show up. So I don't know, now that he's told everybody that I'm going away, he's told everyone that I'm going away now because he's filming that MMA film. Playing a role in a film about an MMA fighter or something like that. So he's going to be on set doing that. It's going to be interesting to see if Cody is going to be able to continue to keep the house drawing now that The Rock has gone away. Because, I mean, I'm pleased for him and everything, but I just, it's like I'm never going to be able to forget what I've seen him as before. And it's hard for me not to remember how much of a mid-carder Cody Rhodes is. Do you know what I mean? It's like Braun Strowman. If they bring back Braun Strowman, there was a time when they first introduced Braun Strowman that I thought, this guy is going to be unstoppable. The way they introduced him, I was like, what the holy fuck is going on with this guy? And then the way that they, after a while, dampened him hindered him, really kind of, diminished him, made him very, very beatable. They're never going to be able to build him back up, in my eyes, because I'm going to remember that. And to me, it comes across as manufacturing who is your star and who isn't. And when you do that, for me, it's like, I can't buy into it. It doesn't look natural. So I'm pleased for Cody, but I don't know whether he has the star power to continue them having record-breaking attendance every week.
I agree.
I mean, it's going to be interesting.
I have a question for Stan and you, Alonso. How long do you think it'll be before they start booing Cody Rhodes? Because Cena was Cena was getting booed months into his championship reign. And obviously, like you say, Cena hadn't been positioned as a perennial mid-carder for multiple years before. So how long do you think it'll be before the audience realise it ain't actually so much that we liked Cody, it was just we wanted it not on Roman Reigns?
Yeah.
It
was like anybody but Roman, wasn't it? That's how it kind of was. Yeah. Anybody. I'm like that with Formula One. I'm like, it's like, Stan, who do you want to win the next Formula One race? I'm like, I don't give a fuck who it is as long as it ain't Max Verstappen. Anyone but Max. So it's kind of a little. That's why I say that quite a lot. Anyone but Max, but it kind of felt like that a little bit with Roman Reigns. It was becoming very boring. Yeah. But does it mean that, usually when they put the belt on someone, like Cena, when Cena was the champion, he was literally the face of the company. Mm-hmm. Austin was the face of the company. The Rock was kind of the face for the company. Hulk Hogan. So now that Roman Reigns is no longer the champion, and he's not like he's going to be on next week or the week after, and still be popping up doing other stuff. Is Cody Rhodes now the face of the company, or is it still Roman Reigns? Is Roman Reigns still considered the man, as he's still on the roster? Do you know what I'm getting at? For example, sometimes people had the belt, right? But everybody knew that Undertaker was running everything around the back. No matter who the champion was, Undertaker was the guy.
I think what was really clever about how they did the business was, and it did lead to them making a lot of money, was how Taker was never the top guy. Taker was a top guy because they didn't build the company around him. He was like the accoutrement, as we say, to like, you went to see Steve Austin, but you'd also get to see The Undertaker. You'd get to see Kane. You'd get to see Foley. You'd get to see all these guys that you kind of liked, even though, because they, same as like you'd see the WWF Tag Team Division of 1988. You liked Brett. You liked Demolition, you liked whoever, whatever, like the Rockers, whatever you want to say. But then Hogan's the main event. You'd get, these guys would entertain you while you got to what you paid to see. That's how
I would have paid to see The Undertaker. Yeah. You know what I mean? I would have paid to see the Undertaker, even if Austin wasn't there.
No, he was a massive outlier, though. He was almost like so far removed from storylines. Like, because in 1995, it's just, I feuds with $1 million corporation. But it does no effect on any storylines apart from he's in his own little bubble, as such. I suppose is a fairer way to put it.
Tom, to answer your question, I think, Cody Rhodes, the thing about Cody Rhodes and John Cena is that Cody Rhodes has a story behind him. He was, this was his son. He has a lot of story behind him. He has a lot of history as well with the company and all that.
Sorry, he's whose son? Sorry, he's whose son?
Dusty Rhodes.
Is he?
What?
Is he?
Since when?
Really?
Nah. No, they never mentioned that. He never talked about it.
He's Goldust's brother.
Yeah.
He's kept that quiet for years.
Doesn't his?
How did you Google him to find out?
I mean, it's not like they mention it every week on the show when he's on, so I would never have known that. So,
new information. Sorry, Alonso.
Sorry, Alonso. Yeah.
Right. So, I think Cody Rhodes is a more likable character than what John Cena was, in my opinion. Now, so it'd be hard to boo him, to be honest with Stan and Tom. Though, yeah, I think his prestige is more important to what he is now than what John Cena was, or any other champion. I think people like him. People like a feel good story, and this is it, in my opinion. I think he was hurt for a while there. Also, I think he got a lot better than the mid card he was always on. Um, so there's a lot of things to be happy about his character and Cody Rhodes in general. Um, so it'd be impossible to get booed for him to get booed. However, there are still some people who would favor Roman Reigns as champion and have gotten used to that idea of that.
So is he the face of the company now, or is it still Roman Reigns?
I feel Cody Rhodes is now the face of the company, or will become it. Like they will book it.
That's what they're going for.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel also. I think what is a key component to that is how they book the main event of wrestling, because they made a point of making it like Randy Orton's lifting him up, and then Randy Orton gets the fuck out of the ring. Like Cena, all the guys apart from Taker, obviously, because Taker disappears. He took The Rock with him for a bit, which seemed really random. And then you saw The Rock at the end with like standing there like with Roman crawling on the floor. It's like, where did Dwayne come from? Why aren't you Undertaker back with you, or whatever? I just found it really random. But I feel. Actually, I'll tell you the thing I noticed about the main event. It was in Philadelphia, and I thought that main event was a low-key tribute to ECW because it was full of fucking run-ins, and it even had a spot where the lights went out and it came back on and someone was in the ring. If that's not EC fucking W, I don't know what is. Paul Heyman must have been sat there just fucking mentally masturbating himself that he inspired this shit.
He just got inducted,
which I loved,
as well.
By the way. Yeah,
and he got inducted.
I loved
so
it,
maybe there was a time.
Yeah.
So here's the question I want to ask you both then. So you said, Mr. Tom, how long was it going to be before the crowd realised perhaps, it wasn't Cody that we actually wanted. We just didn't want Roman. So who else could it have been? Do you know what I'm getting at? So if it was time for Roman to no longer be the face of the company, and let's take Cody out of the equation, who else on the current roster could you put forward to have taken over the mantle from Roman? Yeah.
Oh no chance. No. The only main reason.
Let me talk to you.
LA Knight is because I think he got massively diminished by being on same TV show 5 minutes after Dwayne Johnson. I think he exposed him massively, and I don't think it's necessarily his fault. No.
But who would you both say that? Okay, then who would you on the current roster? Who would you anoint?
I think they could have got away with, but I personally wouldn't want to do it. I think if Sami Zayn had beat Roman in Montreal last year, no. Again, I don't think it would work, but I think the crowd would love it.
Right.
I think the crowd would want it to work, but I wouldn't want it to work because I'm not too sold on Sami Zayn. But same as I was never really sold on Becky Lynch, but they've made loads of money with her. So sorry, Lonzo, go on, mate.
My best bet, I think Tom and Stan perfectly agree with this. If he weren't hurt at Royal Rumble, it would have been Phil. Because I think he would have been the best bet to beat Roman Reigns if he were healthy.
Do you not think that looks a bit like, got all these other guys working on the roster, and then you have somebody who just basically walks straight in, and then the company's like, this is now the face of the company.
That's another argument.
I can understand it business wise because he has a bigger profile, but surely if you're you'd be thinking, oh right, is that how it works? So when he's done and I could be next, somebody else could walk back in and it'll be them again. There's constantly being
the way they've used him has been really interesting. But sorry, Alonso.
To me, that's the problem with having both Cody Rhodes and CM Punk coming back so soon for WrestleMania. Randy Orton, yeah, but he just came back too. Have an injury.
I feel he's on the retirement tour.
think so.
But do you want the face of the company to be someone who's already had their day in the sunshine? Like Randy Orton's had plenty of days in the sunshine, right? CM Punk has already been a big player in the WWF, or do you want it to be an up and Roman Reigns, for example, when he got given it?
That's what
John Cena when he got given it.
It's not at the moment,
right?
But
Yeah.
like he's not ended a pay-per-view as the world. He's ended WrestleMania Night 1 as the tag champion, but that's there's levels to this, as Gary would say, and he has not ended a major show as the world champion. And I personally think they are low-key building to that, as I said earlier, but I don't know whether it'd be accepted. But I don't like that. I feel he stole. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, basically. But I feel he stole Chad Gable's spot, and because I like Chad Gable, I kind of took that personally in kayfabe.
They stole that spot so obviously that it was almost like, okay, instead of Chad bringing your wife and kids to the WrestleMania, Sammy, can you bring yours and have them sat in these seats? You know what I mean? It was almost like, oh right, okay, it's like that now, is it? Oh, Chad Gable.
I can't prove it, Stan, but I get the feeling. In my mind, I believe, and this shows how much of a prat I am with this, but I believe that Sammy politic for this spot, because there's no other way. He could go, why can't I do? Why can't I bring my family? Why can't I have my daughter in the front row? And then, but instead of me there crying because I lost to Gunter, I want them to cry because I beat Gunter. It's like, I still don't believe you beat him. I still remember just sitting there shocked. I had to absorb it. I was just like, he just pinned Gunter.
Originally, I said that Stephanie was going to win because the story and that. But then the more I thought about it, I thought, even if it happens, I ain't gonna. You can have as many fucking crying scenes as you want, and do all this Rocky promos. Like the Rocky promos of Gable. I thought it was going to be like, Gable would throw the towel in. He'd be getting beat up, and Gable would throw the towel in and cause the Gunter to win that way instead of actually Gunter pinning him. Do you know what I mean? So it saves Sammy, someone else threw the towel in, and then that will cause friction between Gable and Sammy. But they just went right there, man. I was just like, okay, where are you going to go after this?
I remember in September when they did the match when Gable had his daughter and wife in the crowd, and Gunter basically beat him so decisively. But to the point where, like, he made a point of laughing at his daughter. I thought, this is ending at WrestleMania. It has to. You've made the man's daughter cry, and I know that as a sentence sounds really silly, but it's wrestling, and this ends in one way, and it's him winning in front of his daughter.
Yeah,
and
there's an element of pantomime to this, right?
Yes, exactly. And then it just became more apparent when they were like, "Oh, Sami Zayn." It's basically Sami Zayn had nothing to do with WrestleMania, and you were like, Chad, I just feel like losing your spot to Sammy. But you can do a storyline in a few weeks when you have the match with him in Montreal, and then you turn heel after you lose it. Spoiler, I think that's what's going to happen. But you stole his spot.
When is the Montreal match? Is that
next week?
On Raw.
Raw's in Montreal next week.
Wow, okay.
Sammy versus Chad Gable.
It's funny you mentioned Sami Zayn, and if you remember how much he used to get beat up and bullied by Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
He was almost borderline jobber, and then he got that run with the Bloodline, became relevant again. You know what I mean? And then he tag team with Kevin Owens at WrestleMania, beat the Usos.
Yeah.
Then he is Intercontinental Champion because he beat Gunther. It's like, wow.
I admire he got himself over to the point where there was no way they ever planned on putting him with the Bloodline for as long as they probably would. Because obviously he just started then making Roman Reigns laugh on camera, and they were like, "Let's see how long we can keep this going," kind of thing. It's a bit like R-Truth in the Judgment Day, very similar.
Mm-hmm.
But instead they decided, no, we actually can't put R-Truth with the Judgment Day, even though I fully believe they should have. But anyway, but it's very the parallels are very similar to they obviously kept it going on longer because people were responding to it.
Mm-hmm.
to the point where they had to then decide, like, are we actually going to shit or get off the pot with our truth in the Judgment Day? And they were like, no, we're actually not going to do it. We're going to have him beat him up and all this. But I don't know. Just
So is there high expectations for SmackDown staying in time?
I don't know what to expect. Because obviously it's going to be the first Smack. Sorry, I was about to say, as a sentence, this is absurd. It's the first SmackDown for a long time without Roman Reigns, which as a sentence is not true. But the spirit of it is, because it's the first SmackDown without Roman Reigns lording it over it as champion. He's not a thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's a non-factor. Because now Cody Rhodes is going to show up there, I suspect.
So do you think things would change after the draft?
It's hard to. It depends on who gets drafted.
Draft is ridiculous, man. And unless they need to do it properly, or not at all. I'm sick of the draft. It's bullshit. But I just wanted to say, as Woody asked about your previous question about SmackDown, I went through a period of many years of not actually watching the weekly shows and just watching pay-per-views, and trying to understand what happened through the vignettes of what the storyline is, and maybe popping in now and again and seeing bits here and there, and the podcast. Listen to more of the podcast actually, so I knew what was going on even though I didn't watch the product. This wasn't into it. But recently, over the last few weeks, when I was watching the weekly product now, it's very much like it was in the Attitude Era, where it's kind of like you want to watch to the very end because you think something else is going to happen. This ain't done yet. They ain't done yet with what they were doing there. Something's going to happen, and invariably it has. For example, the Cody beatdown was a good example of that. Where you have to watch to the end. So I think it's getting quite intriguing the way I don't know what's happened behind the scenes, if they've changed writers or the writers are working more with wrestlers, or wrestlers are allowed to contribute more. I don't know what's happened, but there is a big shift to me in the way that the creative is being done. We're seeing a lot of stuff happening outside, and there was that footage of what was it? Rhea Ripley or Becky Lynch was at a radio station talking about the fight, and then the other one turned up, came into where they were doing the headphones on in the studio and that fight. They did all this sort of stuff, and I love it. There was the LA Knight, innit, turning up at AJ Styles' house.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
So all of this sort of stuff, the way where they're going, I'm kind of the 3 hours isn't such a slog anymore. It used to be a bit of a slog, didn't it?
On the network, right? Oh, if you can get access to the network or anything like that, I would implore you to watch a Monday Night Raw from mid 2019. It's unwatchable. It is. I'm surprised they're still on the air. It's that bad. I'm surprised the USA Network or whatever it is didn't turn around and go, you know what, guys, this wrestling thing's just fucking shit these days. You're fucking booking 2 out of 3 falls matches in every match on Raw. This is the thing, Stan. Vince McMahon had a whim that month where he basically just decided he didn't like there being wrestling during the adverts. So what he come up with was he wanted every match to be 2 out of 3 falls, where basically the falls would always take place just before the adverts. So then they'd all be standing around doing nothing for 3 minutes.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've been there in the audience and watched the commercials come on, and the lights in the ring, they dimmer over the ring. I was at Rogers Arena where they play the ice hockey, so you've got those big TV screens that they usually have. So the commercial comes on, the lights dim in the ring, and you can see that through the shadows. The wrestlers are just leaning up against the turnbuckles, and then the advert finishes, the lights come up, and I looked at my missus and I was like, "Don't look like that when you watch it on TV, does it?" It's like, just chill out in the corner. They don't carry on wrestling; they stop. It's just, you're fighting someone, and you're just going, "All right, stop there for a bit," and then you start.
Tom, what episode was it?
Loads of them. Just like in the middle of 2019. Like it's not a 1 week experiment. I think Vince kept this going for about a month or two. I think it was around the time that he then brought in. You know what his big grand plan was? If I remember rightly, was I'm gonna have Paul Heyman right on one show and Eric Bischoff on the other.
Yeah,
And everyone's like, "Oh, it's like the Monday Night Raw again," and it weren't.
Oh, right,
It
okay.
lasted about 5 minutes, but because even by his own admission, he didn't know why he was there.
I saw something on last night's show as well that really stood out to me. It was the scene where behind the back, somebody from the Judgment Day gets jumped, and all the people from the back, it was a pull apart, and someone was on the floor injured, and the camera was down like that, and Dominic Mysterio was trying to help the person, and he looked at the cameraman and goes, get out of here. And then the camera turned away from Dominic. It went down this hallway. It was all one shot, and as you got down to the hallway, you could see out into the arena.
I love that. Yeah.
And as you came out, you saw that whoever was in the next match was already standing on the rope over the turnbuckle.
It was the women's match, weren't it?
Yes, and it came around. It went red behind where the black, sort of the boundary bit is. It came over there, and it went round to the side, and it ended up looking up at the wrestler. And it was a one shot. It was all done in one take, like one continuous thing. And I thought to myself, it was a little thing, but I thought to myself, like, this is good shit. The timing of it.
You're right, because a couple of weeks ago, they did a segment where they did contract signing with Sami Zayn and Gunter, which in hindsight actually makes this make more sense. Because Sami did the whole, like, I can beat you, I'm going to beat you sort of thing. And fucking Ivan Drago stood there like, you stand no chance kind of shit. And Sami stomps off and the camera follows him. And it, as you've just described, one shot, camera follows him. He goes through the gorilla position. He walks past Awesome Truth and Gargano and the other one, and they're standing there talking. And the Miz turns around and goes, "See, Truth, we need that level of focus," kind of thing. And then they go through their bit, and Truth's like, "Our boys in the shirt walk up," and then they walk past, and R-Truth makes a joke of like, "Oh God, I wouldn't want to wrestle them next." Turns out Awesome Truth are wrestling them next. And then they do their entrance, and it was all in one shot. And I was like you just said, I was like, this is some of the best shit I've seen in years. Just the adventure, because if it was shit, it's fine. Don't do it again. But it was great.
It's really, you know how hard it is to do that live as well, because each person has to be on their mark, and there has to be a certain timing, and and then the person would be walking that way, and then it will turn, and then they'll start talking. It's good shit. Very good shit. Whoever's coming up with that stuff is, I think it's really enhancing the product. Instead of just having something at the back and then it just cuts away now to the ring, and then we hear the people on comms talking about something else. Now looking at this now, the way that it was almost like it almost felt like I was there. I was the person looking at Dominic Mysterio, and he was like, "Get out of it!" And then I turned and walked out towards the ring.
You know, the real thing it does stand, and you're not wrong there, but I think it actually enhances the thing I said earlier about Sting obviously was drenched in blood, and then on Thursday he's still drenched in blood. It's like, no, there are things going on in this world of wrestling. There are things, like, just because the camera's here doesn't mean there's not something going on over here. And I think they're showing about wherever our camera goes, there's multiple things going on during this show. Obviously, in reality, we are seeing what they're showing us, like in any film, but they're implying that other shit is going on.
Things like you'll be looking in the frame of whoever the scene is about, and the two people are talking. Adam Pearce talking to someone who wants their shot, and then in the background you'll see like Drew McIntyre talking to Stephanie, and you'll be like, "What are they talking about?" And it will play into something.
Yeah,
you'll be thinking,
but not even that week. Not that week.
No,
it'll be
exactly.
Next week, where Drew McIntyre helps the bloodline unintentionally, or something like that, or not unintentionally, but but you sit and think, why is he helping them? It's like, well, last week when Adam Pearce was talking to Chelsea Green, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, Alonso.
One last thing as well. Did you see the clip that came out on the internet? You know when The Rock beat Cody in the ring. Look at you now, boy. And he's done all of that. Did you see they released another bit of footage? So what happened was, you're watching him beat beat up Cody, look at you now and all of that, and then you hear someone behind the camera go, "Okay, we're off the air," and the Rock turns around and looks. The Rock looks around at the person. You can't see who they are. Like obviously the camera people going, "You think because we're off the air that this ends? It just ends like that? It doesn't. It keeps beating him and dragging him around and kicking him. This ain't a script because we're off the." And I thought again, that's really. It's not like, okay, we're off the air. Okay, we stop fighting. It was like, no, I'm beating the shit out. I'm beating the shit out of this guy. You know what I mean? I want to beat the shit out of this guy. I don't care if we're on the air or off the air. So again, I like that. Sorry, Alonso.
No problem. So we're going to switch directions now. Obviously, this podcast is also about Arsenal and other sports as well. So what do you guys think about the draw, Arsenal against Bayern Munich? 2-2 draw. Stan, what are your thoughts?
Well, I watched the highlights of the Man City game and the Real Madrid game, and I just think to myself that as much as how good this team is doing at the moment, I really hope Man City can take care of Real Madrid, because if Arsenal do manage to progress further in the competition, I just don't think that we have the experience to get a result at the Bernabeu yet. That team is very good, and if we go to the Bernabeu, it's just going to be over. I'm still worried about the away leg, because I think that this team hasn't got the experience in some of these big stadiums yet, and that showed when we went to Porto. We were scoring loads of goals in the league. We went to Porto, and you can see that the players were a little bit overawed. Declan Rice got a card within the first few minutes. And then it wasn't like we were going through a bad patch, because we came back to the league and it was business as usual. It's like scoring goals, kept defending. And so I do worry about some of these away legs, the big stadiums. And now we've got to go to the Allianz Stadium, and the game is basically back to square one. It's, there's no away goals, so that helps us. But now it's back to square one. So I think it could be difficult for us. So I do think that we're a little bit ill prepared for some of these away games, because we just haven't. A lot of people in this team haven't had that experience yet. So it's a learning curve.
Tom?
Well, to piggyback on what Stan said, I think you get that experience by being in those situations, though. So, like, as much as I know what Stan's getting at when he's saying, like, you, it's like the devil, like when you play Man City in a semi-final, because you play them twice a season, and the aggregate of this season, you won 1-0, obviously. So, I see what he's saying, but at the same time, I feel like it will serve you better going forward, like playing the Bernabeu. Even if you do lose, you're like, fuck it, you'll be back next year. Arsenal.
I get that. Yeah.
Get the experience. Take the whooping now, rather than take it when you are in prime, like 3-4 years into this.
I hear that.
In this era of Champions League money rolling in and you spending it.
It's like when you're learning to ride a horse, isn't it? You're going to fall off plenty of times before you get the hang of it, right? You've got to keep getting back on it, so to speak. Exactly. I hate that analogy. I can't believe I just said that.
It's true, though.
But yeah. But it is a concern of mine that these big away days at some of these stadiums, like, the Bernabeu, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, as I like to call them. I don't know if we're quite ready for that yet. But like you say, Tom, maybe by going there this season, and even if it serves us badly, at least we learn from it. So
you don't learn by not doing it.
Yeah.
In the first place, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Will Ferrell may have said once.
But I thought we'd done really well to come back into the game, to end it on the draw. I thought we'd done really well to come back. I will say that.
Tom Doe, Wayne Gretzky via Steve Carell via Michael Scott.
That sounds right, actually. Yeah. But you just got to plug away, and you've not lost the tie. I mean, to be fair, I mean, I'm not diminishing Arsenal says, but obviously you're lucky that there's no away goal rule, so the game literally starts from 0-0, and if you win, you're in. And if you don't win, if you draw again, goes to extra time. That's it. And you've already got the penalty experience because you won in the last round on it. So, plus they have 2 Tottenham players in the team.
I've got a feeling that I've been hammering Eric Dyer so much and saying things like, any team that fucking buys Eric Dyer deserves not to do anything. I've got a feeling it's going to haunt me.
I've been making a joke for a while that like Bayern Munich had your number so much in the Champions League that they just went and bought 2 players from Tottenham to try and make it fairer. And I was like, you might regret that. Like, to make it more sporting, they went and bought Eric Dyer and Harry Kane. Like, say what you want about it.
I still think that, and there's a wrestling analogy here, that the signing of Eric Dyer for me is the football equivalent of Brutus the Barber Beefcake, and Harry Kane is Hulk Hogan.
Perfect.
And so in order to get the deal over the line, he's like, brother, I've got a job for my brother here, brother. You got to get him in. His name's Eric the Barber Dyer Beefcake. And it's like everywhere Harry goes, Eric's always going to get a job.
Yeah.
It's part of the deal.
100% true. It's exactly right. That was similar to what I was like. The example I thought of was like when you buy the good De Boer brother and you have to buy the bad De Boer brother because he wants to play in the same team as his brother. Yeah. It's like similar. Like
you got to have both Nevilles. You can't have one Neville. You got to have them both.
Yeah. You couldn't buy Eden Hazard without buying Forgan, for example. Like it's a massive transfer deal, but 95% of the value is on one individual of the 2, and it's not Eric Dyer in this situation.
It's funny because I was just reading the other day that yesterday that Eric Dyer was saying that he feels that he should be in the England team right now. He's playing that good.
Dyer.
I can understand why I'd say that, considering Harry Maguire's getting picked, but.
Wasn't Bruce Beefcake's name in NWO the Prophet?
The Disciple.
Disciple, that's what it is, yeah. Jesus.
I'll tell you one thing that was quite fun. A coincidental incident in that era is when Disco Inferno, his finisher used to be called the Chartbuster, and it was basically a Stone Cold Stunner. But he was doing it before Austin was doing it, to be fair to him. But around the time that the Disciple started using his version of a stunner called the Apocalypse, mysteriously the Disco Inferno stopped doing the Chartbuster. It was almost like, wait, Brewer's Beefcake gets you to stop doing your finishing move so he can do what? It's fucking Brewers. And it's like fucking Disco. Just
Hulk probably used his creative control in his contract.
Yeah. But imagine.
Yeah, but that's Disco's finisher. He was like, "That ain't gonna work for me, brother."
He's like, I'm not even doing it on you, Terry. He's like, I don't care. My creative control extends to Brute Eye, brother.
Brother Brute Eye.
Oh, brilliant. I can't believe they called him that when he first came in. And then it was like, oh, because you did Hogan versus Brutus Beefcake in your equivalent of WrestleMania, Starrcade, obviously. And it was like,
back to
but we've got to change his name. He butchered the friendship, brother. He's the butcher. Oh, God.
I always used to hate the way Hulk Hogan used to refer to NWO fans as NWO whites. That's another story. Anyway, back to Arsenal.
Right. So Stan, what are your predictions for is it Sunday or Saturday play Aston Villa?
Sunday.
So what are your predictions? The score line going to be, or who you
home or away?
I think it's home.
Well, and I think Unai Emery is going to want to prove a point, isn't he? Coming back to the Emirates, it's at home, like you say, and they have been playing quite well this season. So I think it could be tight. You know, it could be tight. You know, we're playing really well at the moment, but they've been a little bit streaky. But I think the last game they played, I thought I remember seeing match of the day highlights or something. They were playing really well. One game at a time, and it really is one game at a time for us. And I'm at the stage where when people say, "So what do you think the score's going to be?" I'm like, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I just hope we win. I just really hope that we win. But I can't give certain predictions. I just can't. I'm like,
yes, and this is the Emirates, so my prediction is going to be, if I had to pick, it'd be 3-1 to the Arsenal.
but it's not like we're playing a team that isn't capable of getting something out of this game. That's what I'm talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, a team like Aston Villa, they're a formidable opponent on their day.
Unai Emery's not gonna. He's not gonna send out. Sorry, Stan, that was rude of me. Sorry.
No, go on.
He's not going to send out a team specifically to not try hard against the club that fired him unceremoniously. He is going to meticulously take this. I know managers I was going to say he's going to take this seriously. I mean, managers can't really phone it in against anyone, but the equivalent of like he's going to send his team out to get something from this game because he's got a point to prove. He's going to want to prove that you were wrong to sack him, and the best way to do that is to beat you. But still, ultimately,
that's the mindset I would have, right? Would you not? Anybody else not have the same mindset? I would have the same mindset.
It's fun when it comes to that. Yeah, But your team ultimately, if you play to the top of your ability or tactical nous or any sort of adjective like that, look at the adjective play. Sorry, I couldn't help that. Kevin Nash. If you play to the top of your game by any metric, you'll beat Aston Villa. As simple as that. But football don't work like that, obviously.
Of course. Yeah.
So tell me, who do you have on Sunday? Who do Leeds play on Sunday?
We play Saturday morning against Blackburn. We should beat them. We got absolutely fucking robbed last night. This handball decision's crazy. I fucking so bad I took a photo of it. Partly for my lead show, admittedly, but for example, obviously the pink shirts are Sunderland, and that is Luke 09 of Sunderland punching the ball on a corner, and referee didn't see it. So they put
the Maradona hands of God.
Yeah, that happened twice. There was another one where a player elbowed the ball with his arm, and it was not it's not ideal, but not ideal.
So Tom,
no, go on, mate. Sorry.
I'm about to close this joint out because I know we want to get home, we want to eat dinner, we want to go to bed. In your case, maybe not.
Yeah.
So I'll wait till Stan comes back on, and we'll end the show. But until then, Tom, I guess, where can the viewers find you or listeners?
We'll be there tomorrow, an hour before you went on air, basically, where we'll obviously go over SmackDown, the Hall of Fame, just the usual shit we do on the Full Nelson. Obviously, everyone's welcome. But it's good fun. Well, I have fun. Don't know if anyone else has fun. But anyway, the important thing is that we'll be discussing. But I enjoy this obviously the real reason I enjoy this is because I've got to do no preparation for it, quite frankly. But because I can't help myself. But at the same time, I love these chats. I've enjoyed chatting with you. I've enjoyed chatting with Stan. Great stuff. Love having these informal conversations about wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, I do try to switch it up, but we are on the back of WrestleMania, just trying to keep it fresh. And also, the interest of football as well. This is how we all got here. I know that we talked about wrestling in the past, but it's good that we have a podcast such as yours, Tom, the Full Nelson podcast, you and Tony Turner, as I say, Tony the Tiger. You guys did well for yourselves. I'm very proud to be part of that podcast. And, it's funny because it all came out when Stan said, why can't we just do a podcast? And, I think it's done pretty well, Tom, and I wish Tony were here also. But you guys have done pretty well for yourselves, and I'm glad that I'm able to be on when I can.
I enjoy talking about things I enjoy with my friends, and that's it.
Stan, all right, thank you, Tom. So, Stan, where can the viewers and listeners find you?
You can find me right back there on X and Arsenal Fan Circle, Sundays and Thursdays, and preview shows with Danny over on a Camp Wonderland.
Very cool. I appreciate you both coming on. Thanks to
having me.
VF Splendor. You got it, pal. Got it, pal.
Fuck you, pal.
I want to thank VF Splendor for coming on. I want to thank Spencer as well for coming on as well in the chat box. Well, guys, thanks for coming on. It means a lot to me that you guys spent an evening with me talking about wrestling and Arsenal and other James leads as well. So again, this is Alonzo Lonnie Spencer for the Arsenal Trips Galaxy podcast. And thank you for tuning in and see you on the next one. Thanks. Bye.